Hello everyone. We're going to have a discussion for a while on something that's very topical in the world of health today. Something that is, I guess, considered a new kid on the block. Something that is wreaking havoc globally. Something that has been dubbed the 2019 novel coronavirus, which in recent times has been declared a global health emergency. Originating in China, home to 1.3 billion people, which has been broken down into 23 provinces. A province to the southern eastern or the mid-southeastern region of China, known as Hubei, is home to the capital city of Wuhan. Wuhan, a place which has 11.1 million people, is considered a place filled with both history and natural wonders. Now, interestingly, it's also considered China's domestic hub, and it aims to become the robot city of the future. However, this city is the place of origin of a virus that has been making aggressive waves across the world. When we speak of the coronavirus, there is a tendency to consider the condition the coronavirus disease. Actually, the coronavirus is a family of viruses. In fact, it's one of 22 known viruses to man. Now, this virus specifically looks much like your common flu in terms of symptomatology. So what you will find is that patients have features of the common cold, so coughing, sneezing, runny eyes, maybe fever, and it can progress to more significantly adverse or advanced diseases. Those diseases include things that we may be familiar with, such as SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome. The coronavirus, interestingly, is a disease process from which animals are the known carriers. And these animals, once consumed or having come in contact with humans, can infect humans. Now, several known coronaviruses are circulating in animals that have not yet infected humans. So just imagine the magnitude of an effect that the coronavirus family can have on mankind. Now, some of the common signs of symptoms of infection include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. And depending on the severity of the cases, it can progress to infection, such in the form of pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, which by this point means critically inclusive disease, such that patients require ICU support and maybe even ventilatory support. Other organ systems get affected as well, and this includes kidney failure, and unfortunately, a coronavirus infection, if the patient doesn't mount an immune response, will eventually lead to death. So, the virus in question has been dubbed the 2019 nCoV. That's 2019 N capital C, common O, capital V. Short for the 2019 novel coronavirus. And essentially, a novel coronavirus is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans. So the newness with which this strain of coronavirus is something that is completely new to man, and which is part of the reason why it's so dangerous and so concerning. Now, when we think of where it came from, health officials say that the outbreak started in a seafood market known as the Huanan Seafood Market. The interesting thing about this market is that it is considered a wet market. In other words, one of a series of outdoor stalls selling fish and meat, some of it from wildlife. And we know the cuisine can be quite exquisite in China. Wet markets are known as wet markets because sellers essentially slaughter and cut up animals and fish while customers wait. So if I decide that I want, I don't know, some cat for dinner, when I go to the market, what happens is I order my cat, they get the cat, kill the cat, clean the cat, and give me the meat. Apart from these meats, most of which are unclean to us, part of the challenge also is the public health concern is quite grave. Public health hygiene practices are poor, and as such, germs, bacteria, viruses get passed on to unsuspecting humans. So what do they think may have happened? The reality is someone bought contaminated meat at this market, ate it, got sick, and infected others. And what it did was create a ripple effect around the world. So what does this ripple effect look like? Well, let's go back to December. The 1st of December through to the 18th, 7 suspicious cases were noted, and these were people who had respiratory symptoms, cough and cold, fever. And the common thread was that 2 of these people actually frequented this market. By the time we had gotten to the end of December, around about New Year's Day, there were 27 patients who had developed a pneumonia of unknown origin. And interestingly, most of these 27 people were stall holders in the Huanan seafood market. By New Year's Day, we had 41 confirmed cases. 27 patients had exposure again to the same seafood wholesale market. And by January 5, 59 cases, with 7 being critically ill, were defined. By January 9, the first death was documented. This, a 61-year-old male who was said to be a regular customer of this market. By the 13th of January, we started seeing countries outside of China reporting cases of the novel coronavirus infection. Thailand reported on January 13. By the end of that week, it became clear that human to human, not just animal to human anymore, but human to human transmission was indeed confirmed and now possible. By the 21st of January, Taiwan and the US reported its first confirmed cases. 571 persons were confirmed infected in China by the following day, January 22. 17, the count had risen to, that were dead. By January 23, the number of confirmed cases increased significantly to 628. And by the time we had gotten to the 24th of January, there were other countries that were now reporting. So Nepal, France, Australia, Malaysia, Canada, Germany, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, all reported cases. And by January 28th, just 4 days later, the estimated suspected person count with this infection was 26,701. By January 30, Tibet and India joined those who were reporting their first cases. And up until January 31, the UK, Russia, Sweden, and Spain reported their cases as well. The death toll by this date was 259 individuals, and confirmed infected cases worldwide was approximately 11,800 people. So what does this mean for us here in Jamaica? The reality is, we're not exempt from having patients with this condition. But what do? Well, we have to know about it. We have to know what symptoms to look for. And we have to know what sort of health practices we can introduce so that we start the ball rolling as far as helping our state of health to be one of awareness and also one in which our practices are more healthy. What are the symptoms? So patients generally have fever over 38 degrees Celsius. There's cough, there's cold, shortness of breath, and general flu-like symptoms. So feeling unwell, joint and muscle pain are some of the things that these patients tend to complain of. Who is at risk? Well, as defined by health authorities, recent travel to Hubei, China within 14 days prior to the onset of symptoms, 1. 2, if you have had close contact with confirmed cases or probable cases of the 2019 nCoV, or contact with someone having an acute respiratory illness who has been to Hubei, China within 14 days prior to their illness. What can I do to protect myself? Well, proper hand washing. I cannot stress this enough. Hand washing is important, so much so that many guidelines exist worldwide in terms of what is considered proper hand washing. Importantly, washing your hand under running water with liquid soap, antibacterial properties, and also washing for at least 20 seconds, some say as long as the happy birthday song. And ensuring that you wash in between your fingers, the palms, the back of your hands, and underneath your fingernails is extremely important. Rinsing under running water, cleaning ideally with disposable towels would be the appropriate approach to have proper hand washing. Also, respiratory hygiene. What do I mean by this? Importantly, coughing and sneezing is an important mode of transmission of this virus. What should be done? Your nose and your mouth should be covered when coughing and sneezing. Ideally, you want to do this in disposable tissue. Now, if disposable tissue is not available to you, in the crease of your elbow is where your nose and your mouth should go. And again, wash your hands and wash them properly. Where applicable and available, masks should be worn as well for patients and individuals who are coughing and sneezing. And we do see this already happening in other parts of the globe. Safe food practices is also important. So thoroughly cooking meat and eggs, ensuring proper food storage. Also, ensuring that you wash properly fruits and vegetables makes a difference. Importantly, avoid ill contacts. If there are individuals with respiratory symptoms, it only makes sense not to put yourselves in their immediate surrounding where possible. And if you are ill, do not put yourself in an environment filled with people. You could become infectious. Well, technically you are infectious, and it could pose a problem for those around you. Your immune system depends on you and the support you give it. So rest, exercise, eat a balanced diet, and ensure that you take your multivitamins. And importantly, friends, stay current. Read around the issue of the novel coronavirus. Listen, ask questions, and when you would have garnered accurate information, please share it. We are our brother's keeper. A friend of mine shared something, an acronym for Wuhan. I call it the Christian lesson from a city called Wuhan. W, worship God. U, use his words. H, have faith in him. A, always pray. N, never rely on self. Friends, 3 John 1 verse 2 shares my heart's feeling towards you. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth.